be professional. Hey class, this week we're going to be diving into some painting stuff and ceramic stuff, but no clay, no paint, just the usage of our cell phone and doing some photography. So today's class is going to be centering around how to employ the knowledge that we've learned in photography in the class that we're doing today in painting and in ceramics. Now, I was going through some standards, pull up my notes, and one of those things that a lot of art teachers are out there working on, a lot of students are having to take the brunt of this, is because we're out of the classroom right now, because I'm not in my classroom, and we're having to still keep up with the same amount of stuff that we got to teach. How can we do that when we don't have some of the supplies that we have? We don't have clay, we don't have paint, we don't have paper, but most of us have a cell phone. So all of the stuff that we're doing today takes place on the phone. All the photographs that I did, I'm doing off of the phone, and the apps I'm using are free apps. I always try and find something free that you already have at hand, that you guys got, that no one's gonna be burdened with this activity at all. And we're having a wonderful rainstorm tonight while we're doing this class, so it's just wonderful. So the first topic I want to cover is in ceramics class and in painting class, we're always talking about how we're doing some sort of surface application. If we're dealing with painting, it's the brush stroke, it's the line quality that we're going to be putting down, be it if you're using a transparent medium, if you're doing an opaque medium, if you're trying to do something that where you're putting down the medium and then you're carving through that paint to give a different tonal change, where you have that thick paint on top and then what you've underlined, what you scored out, you have that thinner just like bare smear of a color down on that board or down on whatever canvas that you're painting on. You're doing the same thing in ceramics class, where we're doing with sgraffito and mishima techniques, where you're taking glaze, or you're taking glaze or slip treatment, you're putting that down on your vessel, on your pot, and then you're carving, you're scratching through that to reveal the clay that's underneath it, or if you had different underglazes underneath and you're trying to score off those different layers, you're doing the same thing. It's all about that surface application. So why can't we do that in photography as well? Well, we can. All we're doing is we're taking these images that I've taken and we're putting them into Photoshop, and then how are we layering different colors, different levels of textures, different filters on top of them to change what surface quality is on top of the image. Now, while we're doing this, the big thing that I want to press with you guys in Photoshop, the same as we would in photography and as we would in painting and ceramics classes, it's the amount that you're putting in there. So there's a little slider bar at the bottom of these filters that you can toggle back and forth. If you take it to the left, it's going to take a lot less of the effect. You put it all the way to the right, you see the whole effect. And then how do we balance those two to get the same techniques? I'm going to go ahead and preach out to my art teachers, and that is this: we are always working on problem solving. So whatever task that we're trying to do, whatever standard we're trying to teach, we're still teaching a very basic skill, which is problem solving. So how are we going to take the image that we've created, and we're applying the same sort of standards in ceramics class and painting class, and we're applying that to a photograph? We're still applying it by doing a problem solving skill. So the three topics that we're going to be covering this evening, three things that we're going to be covering in this class are going to be same as with my students. They are doing 3 photo series sets. The first one is shooting through an object. So how are we going to film ourselves in taking that object, and we're actually going to showcase the shot going through it to reveal the thing on the other end. The second thing that we're going to be doing is reflection objects. So how are we seeing a reflection in an object? So for me, I'm using my phone a lot. We're using the phone a lot, and we're taking the reflection of the phone in the image. And lastly, just because it is the easiest to do and you're going to have to deal with it a couple times a day, is food photography. So we're going to put some food photography, taking some pictures of that stuff, and then how do we apply those filters, how do we apply those surface techniques into those images. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into some photography stuff and see how this goes. All right, diving into our photo apps, I'm using Photoshop Express as our first one here. Basic things that it does: crop, it has a bunch of filters in it, and you can just get in and play around with it. One of the things I really love about those filters, there's a ton of them, and you really kind of need to go through and figure out what kind of features you want to use, and then there's that little slider bar so you can figure out how much percentage you want to add or take away. There's so many, you really do need to kind of play with them per image that you're working with, but I did like the overlays that you could add in there being light specks, being little bubbles that you could add in. There's all these different texture applications that you could do if you wanted paper, you wanted bubbles, paper designs, rain designs. There was a ton of stuff, so you could figure out what you kind of wanted to add in there. Now, the one that we're looking at is that through the image, through an object where I had a couple figurines, and so I got Mickey and Minnie, and I threw them up in front of my laptop, and on the laptop screen I have a picture of Main Street at Magic Kingdom, so it has a nice perspective. Underneath them I put a little bit of a light so you can see this blue glow going off of their faces, so it looks more atmospheric than it actually is. And all this is just set up right in front of my laptop screen. I had a board over my keyboard and put those characters on it, and then that's it. That's all I'm doing with them. Just adding a little bit of colors so you can see the before, the after. I like to have my color spectrum that I'm using a lot more set to be something that you can take a bite out of. Next one that we're going into is the food. Again, dealing with different apps and dealing with different filters, look at how you're trying to integrate those colors to make the objects look more enticing, make the picture look better. For food, you always want to err on how should this food look when it's coming to the table. So I wanted to have my tints, in my tint I wanted to do more of a green spectrum. When I'm dealing with warmth, I want to add more yellows in there so that the chicken looked a little crispier, a little more fine-tuned, fresh out of the oven. Saturation, I bumped up the saturation a little bit, popped my greens, popped my yellows, popped my browns. When I'm looking at the detail elements, I want to get those fine elements of clarity in the details so that it makes the picture pop a little bit more. But again, Photoshop Elements or Express is supposed to be based upon bare minimum things that you're doing to, you don't get the full Photoshop experience. I can't really get in there and merge. I might be able to. I don't know enough about the program to really get into it. I do edit on my laptop more than I do my phone, but these are free apps that you can use. One of the nice features they did have was a blur function, so you can get that bit of a bokeh in your image. Again, I'm doing this all on a phone, so to have those little more professional elements and then being able to port it out straight to social media, and you can see the before and after. There's that pop element that is there, and it's all done on a phone, so that's very nice to have. But does it beat doing a computer? In my opinion, no. I prefer using my computer overall. But then I wanted to jump into Snapseed because this one is like the primo app. I don't know why it's free, but it is, so take advantage of it now. One, it's not sponsored, but you know, if you see something cool, share it with other teachers. This has a lot of functionality, a lot more fine tuning at a manual level, which I really, really, really prefer. You can change up the brightness level. You can see the bar flipping at the top by how much I'm adding or taking away and subtracting it. And you can do these things individually. Nice thing about this is everything that you do, if I hit the X in the bottom corner, it would cancel it all out. I'd start back at 0 and nothing. And when I'm porting these out and saving these images, it's not saving, it's saving it as a new file. It's not saving it as what the one that was already on the phone, which is a very nice thing to do. So again, getting in there, fine tuning the brightness levels, the highlights, the shadows, the black point, that's a nice functionality to do. And this shot, all I did was I had a plate of food, I had a pan behind it, a sheet pan, and just a little bit of lettuce I got out of the fridge, just a plate of food, something simple. But curves in this project, that is the best thing to me. I love being able to change the curve level where I can change the brights, the lights, the lights and the darks, changing my red elements, changing my blue elements, changing my green elements. That is a thing that I do all the time when I'm editing. To have that feature, it is very, very pleasant to play around with. So again, you have all these different things that you can do in manual. You can do spot healing, you can do blurs, you can do everything. I do prefer this as a lot more, and I'd like to play around this going forward, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of that. But being able to do that on the phone is just, it's fun, it's interesting. So as you're watching me do these little tricks, get the app, play around with it yourself, and figure these things out. But again, for these kinds of shots, don't go out of your way. I got a little bit of a lettuce I pulled out of my fridge. I got a sheet pan, plate of food, and then just changing up those colors, and it makes the color look a lot more professional. I should have changed the angle on this. I don't like seeing the edge of the sheet pan there, but overall, that's a big Big change for a cell phone photograph, where beforehand it looked like a normal cell phone. Everything was flat. Getting into those editors so you can bring out those colors a lot more. That is awesome. Class today, guys. I hope that you guys enjoy. Got something out of it as always. As always, we'll go ahead and take care of the homework, which is to like, subscribe, share on all the various platforms. Make sure we get the message out there. Trying to support other artists and trying to learn as much as we possibly can. Don't forget, if you have a question, comment, or concern, to raise those hands down the bottom below. I'll take care of those comments as quickly as I possibly can. As always, stay safe, keep your distance from each other, keep learning, and I'll see you guys next class. Later, guys.